The deployment of National Guard units into the heart of the United States Capitol is not a decision taken lightly. It is a visible, deliberate, and unmistakable signal that the federal government is moving beyond rhetoric and into direct operational control over a local jurisdiction. The public statement from the White House frames the action as a response to two intertwined crises, escalating violent crime and entrenched homelessness in Washington, D.C. Yet to understand the true magnitude of this moment, one must first grasp the unusual nature of Washington's governance structure. Unlike any other major American city, the capital does not possess the same degree of autonomy as the states. Its police force operates under a hybrid arrangement, and Congress retains ultimate authority over its laws. In moments of tension, this structure becomes fertile ground for constitutional friction. That friction is precisely what is unfolding now. Attorney General Pam Bondi, newly elevated into one of the most powerful roles in the federal system, met with Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser in a closed-door session joined by FBI Director Kash Patel and senior law enforcement figures. Publicly, Bondi described the meeting as productive, but the subtext, read through the lens of decades of federal-local disputes, reveals a different picture. Bowser's own characterization that President Trump's plan to assume federal control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department is unsettling and unprecedented speaks to a deeper anxiety that the city's elected leadership is being sidelined in its own jurisdiction. In pure legal terms, Congress and the executive branch possess this authority, yet the exercise of that authority against the will of local officials carries political consequences far beyond D.C. President Trump, however, has made clear that he views the situation as intolerable. His weekend post on Truth Social did not seek to soften the edges of his policy. In his own words, "The homeless have to move out immediately. We will give you places to stay, but far from the capital." The phrasing is intentional to the point, uncompromising, and designed to convey urgency. Within the administration's framing, this is not merely an issue of aesthetics or property values. It is, in their view, a matter of restoring order to the symbolic and operational core of the nation. Federal agencies, according to the White House, will enforce laws already on the books, and individuals will be relocated to shelters, treatment facilities, or where those are refused or unavailable to jail. The operational chain of this policy links directly from the Oval Office to the Attorney General, to the FBI, and now to boots on the ground from the National Guard. To the administration's critics, this is not a neutral law enforcement decision, but a political maneuver with authoritarian undertones. Jesse Rabinowitz, communications director for the National Homelessness Law Center, articulates the counter-argument with sharp clarity. In his view, the Trump White House is not pursuing a good-faith solution to homelessness. Instead, it is constructing an apparatus for mass detention under the cover of public safety. The factors driving street homelessness in Washington, in his telling, are the same as those in Los Angeles, San Francisco, or New York. Rents that have outpaced wages, a lack of affordable housing stock, and overstretched shelter systems. This framing pits two fundamentally different theories of governance against one another. The administration's theory holds that public order in a capital city requires the visible removal of individuals who undermine safety, commerce, or the dignity of the national seat of government. The opposing theory insists that the root causes of disorder cannot be resolved through coercion, and that removing individuals from public view without providing sustainable housing and income solutions simply displaces the problem. The divide is not only about methods, it is about the very purpose of state power in managing urban life. The administration's broader budgetary posture intensifies the argument. Rabinowitz points to proposed federal cuts to rental assistance, human services, and healthcare programs. From his perspective, these reductions dismantle the very safety nets that could prevent homelessness, making the current enforcement posture both hypocritical and counterproductive. To those within the Trump policy orbit, however, the emphasis is on reasserting control over public space first and restructuring social spending later. In this calculus, safety and economic vitality in the capital are non-negotiable prerequisites for the rest of the national agenda. Behind the scenes, a less visible influence is shaping the ideological architecture of this policy. Rabinowitz singles out the Cicero Institute, a Texas-based think tank founded by venture capitalist Joe Lonsdale, as a key driver of the punitive approach to homelessness. The organization has championed and, in some states, successfully enacted laws allowing for the arrest of individuals sleeping in public when shelter is unavailable. This model gained new legal traction after a recent Supreme Court ruling affirming the authority of cities and states to criminalize outdoor sleeping. The Trump administration's directives bear the hallmarks of this philosophy. Prioritize removal from public spaces and let the legal and correctional systems absorb those who refuse shelter. The implications for Washington are profound. As Rabinowitz notes, the city is already the most heavily policed jurisdiction in the United States by per capita measures. Adding National Guard units and a federally directed police force consolidates an unprecedented concentration of security power in a single urban area. This is not purely an exercise in policing. It is a live demonstration of how federal authority can override local governance in the name of national image and security. Other capitals around the world, from Paris to New Delhi, have experienced similar moments when central governments intervened to reshape the urban landscape ahead of major events, security threats, or political shifts. In many of those cases, the immediate effect was order. The longer-term legacy was contested. This convergence of legal authority, military presence, and policy ambition places Washington at a pivot point. The decisions taken in the coming months will set precedents for the relationship between federal power and urban autonomy in the United States. The homelessness crisis, while severe, is also a lens through which deeper questions about governance are being refracted. How far can and should the federal government go in imposing order on a city that is both a local community and the symbolic heart of the nation? Where is the line between necessary action and overreach? And how will the answers given in 2025 shape the political and legal landscape for decades to come? As the National Guard patrols the streets and federal agencies prepare to implement the president's directives, these questions are no longer theoretical. They are being answered in real time through the movement of personnel, the reallocation of authority, and the visible transformation of Washington's public spaces. The results will resonate not only within the capital's boundaries, but across every American city, watching to see how far the machinery of federal power can reach when a president decides the status quo is no longer acceptable.